Well, hello, everybody. You're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope, worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. Please stay tuned for the best show on WFMU coming up in 15 seconds. 14 seconds.
Let's go!
WFMU.
Let's go!
WFMU.
Let's go!
WFMU.
Let's go!
WFMU.
Let's go!
WFM.
Well, the truth won't stop.
porcelain face, rubber legs and a porcelain face. Everybody has a porcelain taste, rubber legs and a porcelain face. Whoa, everybody has a porcelain face, rubber legs and a porcelain face.
everybody. Hey, you are listening to the best show on WFMU, brought to you each and every Tuesday night. My name is Tom Scharpling. I'm your host. I'm going to be here until 11, and tonight we have a very special, very exciting show. Tonight is all about the program Bands on the Run, which, if you watched VH1, it was a reality show, a rock reality show that ran for the last few months, following the exploits of 4 bands that VH1 selected to see who would be the winner, who would be the last band standing, I guess is how you could describe it. And they it was very entertaining. It was maybe I'd say it was the first reality show that definitely caught my interest to where I had to be there every week. And so tonight we have on 2 guests who were involved in the program in different capacities. First off, we're going to have Dan Cutforth, who was a producer on the show, and he will give us a look at the behind-the-scenes aspect of creating the show and running the show and putting it together. And then later in the program, we will have from the band Soulcracker, Beastie, the singer-songwriter, or co-singer-songwriter, from the band Soulcracker, who were one of the 4 bands on the program, and he is going to hopefully give us some insight into what it was like to be on a reality show like Bands on the Run. The phone number, 201-200-9368. The email address, toms@wfmu.org. If you have your questions or comments, you can zap them to me in an email. I'm looking at the screen right now, so I will get your emails. And you can call. I do need somebody, though. Email me your phone number. I need to test the phone before I do this Bands on the Run interview stuff, which will start at 9 o'clock. But just so I can make sure that I'm up to snuff on the phones, if somebody would email me their phone number, I could call them to make sure I can call out correctly before I stumble around like a complete chowderhead when the moment counts. Or you can call me and give me, if you don't mind your phone number going out over the radio. So somebody email me at toms@wfmu.org. Send me your phone number, and I'm going to just give you a quick call so we can make sure that the phones are up and running for Tom. So I wonder, are people in this audience fans of the show, Bands on the Run? I think so. I mean, everybody I've mentioned to that I would have this program that upcoming would be these guests. Everybody seemed pretty intrigued on one level or another. So I think it should be interesting. It's a new day for the best show on WFMU. We're getting good guests on. Not good guests, better guests. And hopefully we can build on this, and it's onward and upward for all parties concerned. I know there's a lot of people listening on the internet. I did receive a lot of email this week from people interested in listening to the interview. A lot of people from around the country is going to be listening over their computer. WFMU.org. Hey, I went to the Siren Festival, the big rock festival out at Coney Island this past weekend, and the Village Voice were the brain trust behind this festival. So I'd like to say to the Village Voice and to anyone involved in putting the festival together, if you plan on doing the show next year, maybe you can look into the possibility of making the environment more uncomfortable for people who want to watch the bands. If there's a way to maybe make it less enjoyable, I would look into that if I was a Village Voice employee behind this concert. Maybe you could actually put the street, it was held on a street, a closed off street where usually people park to walk on the boardwalk, right next to the Cyclone, to the right of the Cyclone. So maybe there's a way you can maybe make the street more narrow next year. You can maybe actually bring the walls out, in more, so that no one can, so that people can be more cramped and jam next to each other, and instead of having the spray paint, the guys spray painting on the walls, like have them actually spray paint on people trying to watch the bands. You can do that. That way it could be less enjoyable than it was. And then maybe you can move the stage under the cyclone. That way people could not... And then you put a big fence so that people can't see the band even... They have a worse view of the band. So these are some of the changes, I hope. Did anybody go to that festival? That horrifying siren festival? 201-200-9368. I want to hear from you if you suffered at the Siren Festival on Saturday. Another idea is there was a ramp that ran behind the stage that took you up to the boardwalk. Now, there was a security guard stationed at the top of that ramp who he would let you go up onto the boardwalk, but you could not go back down toward the band area to actually watch the band. So maybe next year, if you give that guy a maybe make him less pleasant than he was. If we can find a guy who's on even more of a power trip than the guy who was actually doing that on Saturday, I think that would work. That would be fantastic. Maybe a guy who has even less clout in every other aspect of his life. Put him up there so he can vent even more of his problems onto the people who are just trying to walk 30 feet down to an area to watch the bands play. So if we could do that. And maybe he should be armed also. Like with a stun gun or a cattle prod. That way he can... maybe he shouldn't even... Maybe he should wear a helmet with a shield, like a reflective shield, so you can't even look at his eyes when he tells you that you can't go back. Then you have to walk... So that it takes you 15 minutes to get back to the place you want to be, rather than 40 seconds. You know, if you were allowed to walk down the plank, the ramp. So yeah, those are some of the things I think The Voice should look into next year, and maybe they can also find a way to make the cyclone louder for next year's show. Come on, that plays. Who saw the show? 201-200-9368. Who was at the Coney Island Siren Festival this past weekend? This is your chance to vent. Okay, I am going to try to call somebody now. To test the phones. Make sure we're up and running. Yes. Hey, all right, let me try to put you on the air. Hold on a second. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, it worked.
Hey, all right. You're rocking.
So, wow, so I'm going to be able to actually do this.
You're in business.
I'm going to be able to actually call out and put people on the air. So what are you doing tonight? Are you excited about the big Bands on the Run show?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear. I've never seen the show.
It was an awesome show.
Yeah, that's what you said last week, I think. You mentioned that. Actually, I didn't get a chance to listen last week, so I tried to catch up and listen to the real audio today. But I had to take a nap, so I didn't get to hear the whole thing.
Well, it's still waiting for you. Don't worry. That's the good thing about archived programs.
That's a good thing about headphones at work.
Yes. Now you have something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So did you go to the Siren Festival on Saturday?
I wanted to, but I had to work.
Well, you made the right choice, my friend.
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to see the John Spencer Blues Explosion.
I left by then.
Did you? Well, when did they go on?
I guess at like 7:30. I'm guessing there because I saw everybody. I saw who did I see? I saw Man or Astro Man.
Oh, how was that?
They were not good.
They're not. I think they're better live than they are recorded.
Yeah, well, I didn't like
That's
them
a bad
live.
sign.
Yeah, and I saw Superchunk, who were good.
Oh yeah, Superchunk is awesome. I've actually never heard them recorded. I've only seen them live.
They're very good. And then I saw Guided by Voices.
How was that?
They were good. They play a little too long for my liking sometimes, but I just and then by that point I was completely burnt out and had to escape.
Well, that's the way I felt a couple weeks before that at the Mermaid Parade.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of awful down there.
Did you just get enough of it?
Oh my God. Yeah, it was so poorly organized. I mean, people were crowding to the street, and you couldn't really see anything. And I don't know. Maybe it's Coney Island. They don't know how to organize things.
I think you know what the thing about Coney Island is that it's are you have you ever been down the Jersey Shore?
I don't think so. No.
Like to the boardwalk in New Jersey?
No.
Because it's like Coney Island, right? Except it's not scary. You know.
You mean with mafioso or with carnies?
With the general street trash that are attracted to the boardwalk.
I see.
Who, yeah. So it's just not scary.
Did you play any games while you were down there?
I played the one shooting game where you shoot at the target, right? Where you you have to blast out the star.
Did you want to play it, or did you get talked into it?
No, I actually went over and actually wanted to play it.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I also I went on the Cyclone.
Oh yeah, I did that when I went to the Mermaid thing.
Did you have fun on it?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I actually did the go-karts too. That was kind of fun.
I wanted to do the go-karts, but then I figured I have a real car also, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm going to go drive there, park, get out, and then pay to drive in like a smaller version of my car.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can bump into little kids. You can. There's no.
What do you mean, the bumper cars or the go-karts?
No, the go-karts. You can kind of bump into people, and you can also floor it around all the corners.
People. You could get killed bumping into people in those things, couldn't you?
No, people in their cars while they're in their cars. Okay.
Oh, it's scary.
It can be scary. It's you're not really going fast enough for it to be scary.
Well, I'm thinking of the Cyclone.
Oh yeah, that's scary. Hey, I'm going to Great Adventure tomorrow.
Wow, that should be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I really want to go back to. I haven't been to Great Adventure in a long time, but hopefully I will make my dramatic return. I know the Six Flags people are excited. Hello.
Oh yeah. I haven't been there yet.
I know they're glad to hear that I'm looking to return. I know that's probably a big thrill for them, but.
Did you cause trouble while you were there?
No. I mean, it's just that they know they're going to get my business again. So.
Awesome.
So anyway.
So you got to get on with your show?
Yeah, I got to get. But I appreciate you emailing me your phone number so that I could test the phones out.
No worries. I look forward to the rest of the show.
Great. Well, thanks for calling. Oh, thanks for emailing. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, I forgot to announce the music that we heard at the top of the show. The last song that we heard was by the band The Rondells, which is from a CD on the K label. They've got a new album out called Shined Nickels and Loose Change. And we heard Safety in Numbers by the Rondells. Before that, the Shondells, get it? Tommy James and the Shondells, which actually I did not plan that, I promise. Tommy James and the Shondells gave us Sugar on Sunday, a fantastic song which was originally from the Crimson and Clover album. We heard it from the Greatest Hits. And from before that, from a set of demos self-released by the band, we heard Glass Candy and the Shattered Theater. The name of the song, Be a Dolly, by Glass Candy and the Shattered Theater. And starting us off at the top of the show, Aviary, which is a CD reissued by Sony Music. They're doing a lot of reissues here. And this is a band from 1978. And you get all the trappings, good and bad, with Aviary. And we heard Anthem for the USA. Good stuff. The phone number, 201-200-9368. Tonight's show will be a special one. We are going to have our Bands on the Run Super Spectacular, including Dan Cutforth, who is a producer on the show. And later in the program, we will have Beastie, the one and only Beastie, from the band Soulcracker. So you can stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let's get back to the music. I will tell you, though, the email address, toms@wfmu.org. So send me your questions or comments. If you have any questions for the guests, I'll read them to them. In the meantime, let's hear some music. Here's something from Outrageous Cherry on WFMU.
Set a cable to Rio today. Renee's accepting a new mission. It's gone 100 around. Again.
In the basement of a building made of teleport agents to the cold of abyss and back again. Renee would fold her hands like she had done in the past. She would arrange to see them back again. Behind the walls and separate their surveillance agents by the sneers with low wires, monitoring everything about Renee and her spine. She was on fire. Wait, hold your fire, Renee. Where are you tonight? And what's your desire, Renee? Where is it tonight? You don't mind. You don't have to put my head to. You don't know what to do. I can't even tell her. You can't remember why. Won't you please tell us both what to do so you knew? It was on the telephone, she didn't hear the radio play on and on, convulsing into everything. She thought she heard the doorbell ring. No one's home. Where is your fire, Renee? Where is it tonight? And what's your desire, Renee? Where is it tonight? And there's stuff moving all over the basement.
That was the Strapping Field Hands, and here's something new from Truman's Water. All right. Hey, this is the best show on WFMU. Here each and every Tuesday night until 11, from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Like clockwork every week. Set your watch to it. We are here for 3 hours every week. My name is Tom Scharpling. Oh, we just heard from Truman's Water from their self-titled album, which I think is their 413th album. It's on the Emperor Jones label, and the song we heard was called Rinsed in Ashes. And I gotta say, I made the mistake. I played the wrong song, I think, because that didn't sound so hot. Not so hot from Truman's Water, guys. Sorry. You get the old thumbs down on your new album. Sorry. Before that, the Strapping Field Hands from a 7-inch that came out in 1993. We heard Future Pastoral. Came out on the Silprees label. The Strapping Field Hands. Never disappointed. Never imitated. Never duplicated. The Strapping Field Hands from Philadelphia, the angriest city on earth. The Clocks before that from Kirtland, Ohio. Going back, I don't know the year on this 7-inch. I don't remember. Let's see if I can look and find out. The year is 1980, and it's on the Terminal. A record label. And we heard Confidentially Renee by the Clocks. Good stuff. So we had Bad Truman's Water song, Good. Strapping Field Hands song, Good song by the Clocks. And then a bad song by West Coast pop art experimental band. Once again, I picked the wrong track. I thought I had the right track figured out. At least I get it all over with in that set. And, this is off the Volume 2 album, reissued on the Sundays label, which is an awesome record label. I just played the wrong track. I played a song called Smell of Incense. Boy, it's not like I got a heads up or anything on the title there. And starting us off, a good song by Outrageous Cherry. We heard Through Parallel Dimensions from their album The Book of Spectral Projections on the Pop Tones label. Let's take a quick phone call here. WFMU, you're on the air.
Let's take a quick phone call here. Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, not very good, that last tune. I don't know what's up with that.
It didn't click.
How about some X models?
I'll see if I can get it on.
All right, Tom.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. That is what we call a quick phone call. Hey, you know what I'm going to do right now, though? I'm going to tell you that you're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. And in minutes, we have, as part of our Bands on the Run Super Spectacular program, Bands on the Run television show producer Dan Cutforth. I'm going to play a record right now, and we're going to come back when we'll be joined by Dan Cutforth. Here's something from the Von Bondies on WFMU, and I know this is good.
the bother at home. Well, how can I be down when I ain't been married yet? Smoking another cigarette, I ain't got no regrets. Well, how can I be down when I ain't been married yet? Making sure angels to the break of dawn. Lying in the grave till I can't see anymore. Making sure angels to the break of dawn. Me and my brother ain't got no sisters, just a father at home. So we got the bottles of night train, baby, and now we don't feel alone. Me and my brother ain't got no sisters, just a father at home.
Okay, you're listening to WFMU East Orange, and we are hopefully joined by Dan Cutforth. Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, Dan, welcome to the program. Dan is the one of the producers of the show Bands on the Run, which I guess just concluded its season a week ago. So thank you for being on the program, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Okay, and I guess I should say, first of all, congratulations on the Emmy nomination,
Thank you very much.
which is that's pretty exciting. And what's the category?
Oh gosh, what is it? I should know this. I think it's reality series. I'm not sure. I think it's the first time it's ever been awarded.
Okay.
I think they developed the category as a response to the success of Survivor. So obviously we're up against Survivor and a couple of other shows.
So you're the I guess you guys are the dark horse.
We're definitely the dark horse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But we're used to that.
Yeah, I guess it was. How many episodes of the show were there?
Well, there were actually I think altogether 16 episodes, including the reunion special, the update show that we did, which was the last episode.
Mm-hmm. And that was on. Was that last week? I can't even remember.
I can't remember.
This was the first week.
I think it was the week before last, actually.
Yeah, because it seems like my life has just been devoted to Bands on the Run for the last 3 months.
Wow, I'm glad to hear it.
So I guess we should start off. How did the idea for Bands on the Run come about?
Well, I have never been in a band, but I have had many friends who were in bands, and I think the inspiration for the show came from the kind of classic idea of, if you're in a band, of throwing all your gear in a van and taking off around the country trying to interest people in what you do, and in your music. And I had friends who had done that and, slept in the back of vans and on people's floors. And while it wasn't possible to do that on the TV show, I really wanted to create a show that had that really kind of tapped into that thing that already exists. I think there were two things that really exist in the musical world, and that's one of them, the idea of throwing your stuff in a van and going out on tour. And then the other thing, I noticed that a lot of bands are very competitive with each other and with other bands, and every person who's in a band thinks their band is the best band in the world. Sure. And I always feel that the best shows come out of situations that really exist in the real world, and we just thought it would be a really exciting thing. The executive I work with at VH1, she and I developed the show fairly closely together, and and it, we really felt like it could be a great insight into a side of the music industry that you never see.
Yeah, and so what is the what is like the in the timeline? Where was the germination? Where did it start? Like how long ago?
Oh, I pitched the idea for the show, I think, in December 1999. And about this time last year, we were just about out on the road shooting the pilot, which became the first episode in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we've been... I worked on this idea for over a year, I guess. I mean, actual day in, day out for over a year.
Okay, and I guess did you have to scale down your initial idea, or did you have to make it bigger than you thought? Or
we made it bigger.
Yeah.
The initial idea was I think the initial idea was to do it just with two bands, and then we decided to make. Then we made it three for the pilot, and then after the pilot, we decided to. Here's the thing: when we did the pilot, the bands worked really, really hard, and it was really entertaining. We felt. But one of the reasons they worked really hard is because they wanted to be asked back to do the series, and we felt that band members being what they are, and they didn't get into being in bands so that they could work really hard.
Yeah.
We felt that the first thing is that the prize for the show, whatever the prize package may be, the prize for the show is actually being on the show. The exposure that gives you.
Sure.
We felt that if we took that away, put in the threat of taking that away, that would make the bands work really hard and would up the stakes of the whole competition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it worked out.
So
we added another band, and we added the element of bands being eliminated as they go.
Mm-hmm. And now, what was the thought process when you went into picking the bands? Like, what were you looking for in contestants?
Well, I wanted bands that I liked, first of all. I wanted to, I had to like their music. It would be very hard for me to put a band on there just because they're amazing personalities if their music really was, subpar.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first thing. If we didn't like the music, I listened to it with my casting people. I had two brilliant producers who helped cast the show, and if we really didn't like the music, then that was it. It was over. And we went through this whole process of screening candidates, but really what we were looking for was some kind of just people that you would love to be around, that you would really enjoy coming back to every week, and hopefully with kind of contrasting approaches to how they go about life and music and everything else. And I guess we were looking for some kind of star quality in the people that we wanted, and not necessarily brilliant musical ability, but so many of the bands that I really like aren't the fantastic musicians. They're just really passionate, brilliant performers, and that's what we were looking for.
Mm-hmm. So how many bands did you have to screen?
Did I personally listen to?
Yeah, before you got
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I don't actually have a figure, but I would say we'd been doing some casting for a second series. Between the two, I'd say well over 1,000.
Wow, and I guess just from all over the country.
Yeah, from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And when with the four bands that you got, I guess was there also a point of trying to make sure that the music would not be like too segmented, like you wouldn't put a heavy metal band against like a
country and western band?
Exactly.
No.
Yeah,
the problem with that is one of the things that was one of the biggest production challenges for us was keeping the playing field level. And if we wanted everyone to really be fighting for the same audience,
mm-hmm.
which is essentially a rock audience, in this show. If you had a country and western band in there would be country and western radio stations who they could get exposure through that none of the other bands could obviously get exposure through.
Sure.
Or do you know what I mean? Music is so segmented in this country,
mm-hmm.
and music radio, and people have very specific styles. Tend to have very specific styles of music that they like. So we wanted to have them all competing for the same audience rather than trying to find their own audience, if you see what I mean.
Sure. Now, I should say to everybody listening, my guest is Dan Cutforth, who is one of the producers of the show Bands on the Run, which is on VH1. And I guess, you can if you are one of the people who is new to the Bands on the Run thing, if you missed out on it in August, I guess August 11th, there's going to be a 7-hour marathon of episodes.
That sounds like plenty to me. That's going to be, that's going to keep everyone going for a little while, I guess.
Yeah. Now, where were you when the production started up?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you in the what were you doing on a day-to-day basis? I mean, were you like?
Oh, I was on the road. You mean when we shot the series?
When you were actually shooting the series?
Yeah, I was on the road all the time, except for 2 days when I went back to sort out some problem with post-production. But the rest of the time I was out on the road. Most of the time, Jane Lipsitz, the executive I work with at VH1, who's my kind of producing partner in this, was out on the road too, and they were really long days. We'd be on the phone all day, back to the office, sorting things out and making plans. We were producing a lot of the show while we were on the road, so we'd be producing bonus opportunities, a few days before, and sometimes even a few hours before we were actually doing them. So there was actual kind of production to be done as well as the following the bands. And to be honest with you, we had a lot of fun just being out and following the bands around, seeing what happened when they would go out and the things that they would do and so on.
So it's like you almost got to do your, since you said you were never in a band yourself, it was the closest you'll probably ever be to being on tour.
I got my, vicarious thrills that way, definitely. Yeah, for sure it's the closest I'll ever be to being on tour. The funny thing was that the production crew, we all sort of felt that we all got a bit infected by that whole rock and roll lifestyle, I think.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun to be around, but I don't want to kind of underplay what hard work it was. It was really tough. We had 2 crews on each band, one working the day shift, one working the night shift, so the bands would cover 24 hours a day.
Wow.
So our production was going on round the clock all the time, moving, up to 70 people every 3 days, often 5, 6, even 10-hour drives. We had to. The logistical challenges of doing the show were huge, and it was quite overwhelming to begin with, but we got used to it after a bit.
Yeah. So you actually had so that's 2 crews per band. So and how many people were in? So you said up to 70 people.
Actually, when we flew into Chicago, including the bands, I think we had somewhere between 90 and 100 people flew into Chicago. So that was a pretty crazy scene when everyone landed there, and the budget wasn't the biggest budget that's ever been allotted for one of these sorts of shows, and so we had to pretty much hit the ground running. We didn't have a whole lot of prep days where we could practice or anything. We just had to go and start and do it, and those first few days were pretty chaotic, but a lot of fun.
Was it unwieldy in a way? You had no idea how much stuff was going to be going on. I mean, just because you're talking about human beings still. Ultimately, they're rock people who are, they're not going to just sit around and
absolutely.
And wait, you've got to follow them a lot of times.
Oh yeah, we had to find ways to not hold them up, to let them do what they wanted to do. And one of the things that I really love about the show compared to a lot of other reality shows is that we didn't really tell them they had to do anything other than show up for the show.
Yeah.
And by the end, they even started canceling those.
Yeah.
So, we really let them do what they wanted to do and dictate things. And in the beginning, we just couldn't believe that things would happen. Like, I don't know if you were watching the second episode in Chicago where someone just came up to Harlow and offered them a gig in a limousine playing for a bachelor party.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Harlow thought that we had set this up. And,
okay.
But I mean, all the crazy things would happen all the time, and that was what was so cool about it and so much fun. We had so much fun just because it was, any time it got boring, something huge would happen. Always, it just seemed to be that the action never stopped on the show.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there ever cases of you guys having where the bands would try to escape the cameras?
Yeah, that used to happen from time to time.
And how did you handle that?
We had to read the Riot Act a couple of times to the bands and say, you have a contract with us, and and you have responsibility as, you have a legal responsibility to us and all the rest of it, and that seemed to work most of the time.
are there any specific
Oh, Harlow were the worst by far.
Okay.
Harlow were had a bit of a tendency to turn off their mics and try and outrun the crew and stuff like that. I don't think they ever successfully did, but so we had a few issues with Harlow along the way. But I mean, it was all very good natured and everything. It's just a very weird and intrusive thing to have crews on you all the time, and I think pretty much anyone who does one of these reality shows at some point or other kind of cracks and can't take it anymore. And we definitely had a few moments like that with Harlow.
Now you had 4 bands. You had the Josh Dotis band. You had Harlow.
Yeah.
You had Flickerstick and Soulcracker.
Yeah.
Now, going into it, are there things that surprised you about the bands as the show went on? Like about any of the specific
the specific bands?
Yeah, the way they acted on the road, or the way that they're metal, or what?
Yeah, I think there were things that surprised me about all of them. I think initially I was surprised by how volatile Flickerstick were.
Okay.
And then as the series progressed, I was surprised by how that changed and how they became really close friends. And then whenever they were under real pressure, whenever there was a battle of the bands or something like that, inevitably they'd end up yelling at each other and going crazy. Soulcracker, I knew that they were competitive and that they were very serious about the game. They took the game very seriously, and that was great from my point of view. I was really glad that they did. I was surprised when they started to disintegrate a little bit.
When Soulcracker did?
Yeah, when they started to the pressure started to get to them around about Atlanta, I think.
Okay.
New Orleans and Atlanta, and they started to fall out with each other and bicker a bit, and they had been so close and such a brotherhood. That was kind of surprising to me, but I think I don't know. I don't think I really realized as well how much all these bands love their music. I mean, they are so 100% committed to what they do, and I think that's one of the things that's kind of inspiring about the show, is that I think that really comes across. The commitment they have to being musicians and playing music, even and no matter what their approach to the game was, they were all dead serious about the music.
Now, obviously when you go back, you've got a mountain of footage to look at. When you had to put the first episode together, what was your mindset going into that?
Well, the first one we put together was the pilot, which we had quite a bit of time for. We shot it in July, and then and the show obviously didn't air until April this year. So we had put together the pilot to see whether the show would work. I guess the mindset coming into it was, we had so many great stories, and it's how do you find time to tell them, and really, I don't know. I think for me, the most important thing was trying to make it to make it real. To not make it manipulated, and I felt very kind of cheated. I watched Temptation Island. I felt very cheated at the end when I realized that all the stuff that I thought I'd been seeing, I hadn't been seeing at all, and it was all just smoke and mirrors and editing.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the cool things about Bands on the Run is that, look, it's a reality show, and it's definitely played for dramatic effect some of the time, or for humor, or pathos or whatever, but at the same time, it does. I think people respond to the realness of it, and I think that's why so many musicians love the show.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to. I guess the other thing was, for that particular show, we had been through this whole thing of Corey losing his father while he was on the road, and handling that sensitively was, I guess, a big priority for us. But it's an enormous amount of material to manage, and I guess the first time you do it, you're just trying to find what the show is, really. And I don't know if I can answer it any better than that.
Sure. No, well, that makes sense. And was there any sense of that you guys were in some way responsible for shaping the way the bands would be perceived by people watching the show? Going in, if you watch the, I guess the reunion show, which was the final show, you could see the bands giving their opinion of what they thought they would be perceived. Like Soulcracker thought they would be either the most boring band on the show, or they would be the fun, like the heroes of the show. So I guess there's a certain amount. You're the one you got to take these hours and hours of footage, and you can actually shape the ways. How did you approach that challenge?
You know, one of the things that we stressed to the bands very early on was that we took our responsibility to them as bands really seriously. You know, that we recognized that in doing the show, they had entrusted us with, you know, their careers, not just their reputations. You know, in real terms, that's what they were doing. Because, you know, if some lawyer goes on Survivor and everyone thinks he's a dick, no one really says, well, you know, he's a bad lawyer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No one judges him professionally. But if they go on the show and they end up looking stupid or they don't know what they're doing,
it could end their career.
Then it could end their career. So we definitely took that that very seriously. I know that a lot of the bands, pretty much all the bands, say that you know, we took some liberties with their storylines, and some of them are happier than others, I think. It's a really tricky thing, because it's not just a question of how they perceive themselves. Obviously, every band has their own perception of themselves, but also the one thing they don't know is how the other bands perceive them, and a lot of how they appear on the show is the other band's perceptions of them. So
sure.
if a band goes on the show and they think all the other bands love them, they're going to think that, you know, that they're lovable. Whereas, and if the other bands sort of pretend that they love them and actually hate them, then they're going to, on the show, they're not going to appear lovable, if you see what I mean.
Sure.
And I know that some people have said that they see Soulcrackers as the villains of the show and all the rest of it. And I think, and Beastie says on that reunion show that people have got really caught up in hating Soulcracker and hating him and all that sort of stuff. And I have to say, that's something that I really didn't anticipate at all. I was really surprised by that.
I think it's almost the way, you know, when you're watching the show, when you're first starting to watch it, I think for a lot of people, you know, maybe all of Harlow look the same, like it's four girls, and maybe Flicker Stick just look like four rock guys, and, you know, Josh Doda's band is there on, but then all of a sudden you just see this one guy like Beastie, like, stands out as, like, the guy, he ends up being like the magnet, right?
Yeah.
Like the first person that you can actually single out as, like, I know who that guy is.
Yeah.
And maybe that, I think he maybe drew a lot of people's ire.
Well, I mean,
right
unquestionably he did, you know. I think a lot of people love Beastie as well. I mean, you know, I mean, I don't know where you stand on the whole
I like
debate,
him a lot.
But I heard that you're a Soulcracker fan, and you know, and I like Beastie a lot personally. He's a really entertaining guy, and as it turns out, he's a very good communicator. He's very articulate. He's very funny. And so we used him to tell the story a lot.
Yeah.
But as a result, people were like, well, why is this guy so chatty? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's what throws people almost, is that he's almost like he's so gregarious and you know, confident in addressing the camera and just comfortable, you know, like you said, telling the story, that I think that just throws people to a certain degree. Now, do you have any regrets about the way the bands were portrayed?
No, I don't. You know, you know, I'm someone who wants everyone to be happy and you know, and everyone to love me and all the rest of it. And you know, from what I can tell, all the bands, when they talk to me, are perfectly happy and are really nice to me. So you know, I don't think there's anyone out there who's harboring, you know, real kind of anger or you know, any. I don't think there's any sort of lingering you know, anger about how people were betrayed and all that sort of stuff. You know, and we're sort of like talking a lot about it now, but I think that if you ask the other people in all the bands how the other bands appeared, I don't think anyone in the other bands will say that this band was really made to look bad or this band was really made to look good, and they weren't. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think everyone would love to be on TV and be a hero, and if they look a bit stupid sometimes, I mean, like Corey, for example, is actually a really intelligent guy, but he comes off on the show as kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And he is kind of embarrassed about that, but he says, you know, look, I said that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't reading a script or anything. It was just, I mean,
exactly.
He was the one doing all those things. Your cameras were just
exactly.
on. Now, do you think did the bands get more savvy toward that as the show went? Oh, obviously they must have. I mean, but actually, in a way, maybe they didn't, though, because it seems like Flicker Stick just kept doing stupid stuff as the show went on. I mean, like for anybody who's uninitiated, Flicker Stick. I guess the guys they're kind of like these Texas guys who and a lot of them went on the road and kind of cheated on their significant others.
Yeah, they drank a lot and slept with a lot of girls and just basically lived the rock and roll lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
In the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you feel bad, Corey's one thing because he was just going nuts, and it almost seemed like he was, on some level, he might have been ashamed, but on another level, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But somebody like Fletcher, who is a guy who I think he's married and has a kid.
He has a fiancé and a small child, and
he had one night where he made a mistake and he slept with somebody on the road. So and you saw him just anguished through the rest of the show. How did you deal with that? The fact that you're going to just put this guy's, it's not just a girlfriend. It's actually there's a kid involved, and
that's a really good question. That single thing was probably the hardest thing. That was probably in some ways even harder than dealing with the whole issue of Corey and his bereavement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you the honest truth, the day that I woke up and heard that had happened and that Fletcher had done that was really one of the lowest points of the whole thing, because Fletcher is a lovely guy. He's a really charming person, and I felt terrible when I knew that had happened and I knew it had been caught on camera because we were going to use it. They all knew that. Mm-hmm. They never said to us. They never, said, please don't use it, please don't use it. Mm-hmm. They knew we would.
Yeah. So nobody ever begged you to not air anything? They didn't. I wouldn't say that Fletcher exactly threw up his hands and say, "Do what you want. I made my own bed." He was really in a horrible position, and he felt like he had really screwed up. I'm trying to remember back. It was a while ago now. There were two phases. There was one phase immediately after it had happened, and I think he felt that if he didn't talk about it in interviews, then we couldn't use the footage. Mm-hmm. What happened was when we got back, we had the footage, and without him talking about it, it really looked callous and really looked bad. And we said to him, "Look, Fletcher, we're going to use this. We really think you should talk about it and give your side of the story," because his side of the story was quite. Was somewhat mitigating, at least, which was that they were under a lot of pressure. They had this big fight. They were all really drunk. They were all kind of coming to pieces a little bit. They'd gone into that, this town where the first elimination is going to happen in first place, and they just found out that they'd slipped to last place, and they were the ones who were looking at being eliminated. Mm-hmm. And then they had this enormous fight, which you saw maybe 45 seconds of on the show, which went on for probably 25 minutes, wow.
Where they were screaming at each other, and they were just in pieces. Those guys were just in bits. And so Fletcher talked about it, and I don't know. It was a really tough thing. When that show went out, I felt desperately bad for him, and I could, but we're always going to use it.
Sure.
That's the thing that makes the show real. You know what I mean? Those are the things where God, this isn't faked. Mm-hmm. And those things happen. And I think that people, because Fletcher's so likable, people really felt bad for him rather than judging him on the whole.
Yeah, like a guy like Corey, he kind of,
He gets judged.
Yeah, he gets judged, and it's a little harder to feel sorry for him because he seems like he's got he's like a serial offender with some of his behavior. But then like Fletcher, it looked like the guy was just ruined until he got to tell his fiance what happened. I should say to anybody listening, this is we are joined by Dan Cutforth, one of the producers of the VH1 show Bands on the Run, and he's answering our questions, and he's going to hopefully take some phone calls shortly. But I just have a, now, what was the overall response to the show? I don't know about the ratings or how VH1 felt about it. What was that?
Well, the first response we got was the critical response was amazing to the show. All modesty aside, VH1 has the press people said to me that they've never had a show that had that kind of press. We got fantastic reviews from Rolling Stone and Entertainment Weekly and Time and Newsweek and People Magazine. We got just amazing reviews. Definitely some people didn't like it. We got some bad reviews too, but we got fantastic reviews. So it was definitely a big critical success. The response from the public was I don't think people were really ready for this show on VH1, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And our viewing figures to begin with really weren't very good, but then word of mouth started to spread, and suddenly, the viewing figures were just like going up and up every week, and I think in the last week it was one of the top rated shows on VH1, which it had definitely not been at the beginning.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It definitely was not a ratings powerhouse or anything like that, but it did respectably, and for a new foray, it was for VH1. It was a very different kind of programming, and I think that they were really pleased with the way that it turned out, and the fact that it's nominated for an Emmy Award obviously makes it even better for them. They cable networks don't, with the exception of HBO, which has tons of money, make shows very cheaply, and they don't very often get nominated they don't as often get nominated for Emmy Awards, so they're pretty excited about that.
I mean, is there going to be another season?
I don't know at this point. They haven't ordered one at this point, but I think there's a great chance that it'll happen.
Are you going to take the same role on the?
No, I'll have a slightly different role. I'm going to be there in more of a consultant capacity. I mean, we've already done a lot of casting, and we have some bands that we really like for the next series. We'll probably need to do some more on that. And, I mean, now we really know how to produce the show, so it's not quite... I don't need to take quite such a hands-on role, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I'm also working on another show now as well, so I would love there to be another series of bands on the run. I think it was by far the most fun I've ever had, working in television, and the most rewarding show I've ever done. I was really, really proud of the show. I am really proud of the show.
Now, do you have a fear of, I guess, just like with the second season or the follow-up season of any of these reality shows, the bands are obviously going to come into it with a level of media awareness.
Yeah, it'll be very different.
Yeah,
it will be different, but I think that there are some changes we can make to the format that will get around that, because ultimately, whatever I mean, in terms of playing the game and all that sort of stuff, that will definitely change, and we'll have to, find ways. We've already been thinking about ways that we can change the game. I think the things that we can do in another series. I mean, ultimately, whatever we do, it's going to be about the same thing. It's going to be about these bands. The thing that I always felt was really distinctive about this show is that these are people. This is a reality show about people who already know each other, not a bunch of strangers thrown together by producers who think they won't get on with each other. They're a group of people who choose. They're groups of people who choose to spend time together, competing against other people who do the same thing and feel passionately about it. And I think ultimately that's what's great about the show. I mean, that's what I love watching about the show is the way that those people interact with each other, and I find it interesting when they get on and interesting when they don't, and whatever happens, that will never change. As long as we cast compelling, fascinating bands, the show will work, I think.
Would you be willing to take some calls?
Absolutely.
Great. The phone number is 201-200-9368, and my guest is Dan Cutforth. If you want to email a question, it's TOMS, TOMS, at WFMU.org. So, actually, we got a call coming in, so let's...
Oh, wow.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, man? What's up? Is the guy that does the Bands on the Run, the producer in there?
Yeah, this is you're with Dan Cutforth. Can you hear?
Dan Cutforth.
Hey.
Hey, listen, my name's Draper. I play in a band. We're called Buzzkill, man. I cannot believe I'm talking to you right now. We're one of the hottest bands in New Jersey, and I'm not going to snuff the rooster, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, if you don't mind.
Did you have you submitted to us?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you submitted to us? Have you applied for the show?
We haven't tried to get in touch with you all yet, but I figured since I got you on the phone and stuff, I could tell you a little bit more about us. I used to be in a band that was a lot like MC 900 Foot Jesus. We were a rap band, and the guitarist kicked me out. And I don't ever want to feel like I did that day. That was a tough time for me.
It sounds like it.
So are you interested in being on the show? Is that something?
I'm definitely interested. And I don't know who the other band would be, like our Soulcracker to their, Thunderfoot or whatever those other bands was, but all I do know is you got to keep them separated.
So,
I mean,
I've
been watching MTV quite a bit lately, and
how can people, if they are interested in submitting, do that, Dan?
I believe there's still a link on the Bands on the Run site at vh1.com. That's probably the best way now because we're on hiatus right now. We don't have anyone manning the office, so I can't give you an address to send stuff to. If we do get a second series of this, then we'll definitely be looking for more bands, and the thing to do is to keep checking on vh1.com.
Okay, great. The phone number 201-200-9368 if you have any questions for Dan Cutforth, producer of Bands on the Run. You know, now I heard somebody mention that there might be some sort of tape, or like a Too Hot for TV thing. Is that true?
No, that doesn't exist at the moment. There's definitely some stuff that never made it. Actually, well, there two things. At vh1.com there was a section on vh1.com called Too Hot for TV, where we put up some of the stuff that was a bit too racy for the TV show.
Okay.
But we didn't have but not too racy to put on vh1.com, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
We could definitely do some pretty put together a pretty amazing tape, but we haven't done so yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now you know what? Another thing I was wondering is with. Did you feel that, like, you know, you had your four bands, and do you feel that the Josh Dotis band maybe were at a disadvantage in retrospect, kind of like, because it's like a harder sell of their music's. It seems like it's not as pop based. It's maybe you have to hear it three times before
yeah.
you know their song, and it's piano based.
I don't think they were at a disadvantage at all. I mean, they felt like they were until the first show, and then they first of all, I mean, the thing about them is they're really smart people. They're really intelligent. They cottoned on very fast to how to play the game.
And they were the last band added.
They were the last band added, so the other bands had the experience of doing it once before. But to be honest with you, the big advantage for them was that they were really clever at coming up with ways of making money. But the other thing was that the music is really good, and people who went to see them really loved it. And wherever they went, they sold a ton of merchandise. They would go and play the Hard Rock Cafe and sell $300 worth of merchandise. So I didn't feel that they were at a disadvantage at all. In fact, I thought that they were one of the strongest contenders in the whole thing. And they were very unlucky to get eliminated, as it turns out.
Were you surprised that they were the first band off?
Yeah, I was. I thought it was going to be Harlow.
Really? And, yeah, I mean, it was surprising, the whole, the way it played out. You know, I thought it seemed like Harlow were dead, and it seemed like Flickerstick were dead for the longest time, but then they came back. We got another call coming in here.
Okay.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Yeah. Oh, this is Liam Coxley. I used to play bass in Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine.
Okay, well, you're on the air with Dan Cutforth from...
Oh, no, I'm trying... I couldn't believe my ears when I was listening to the radio. Dan, do you remember me?
No, I don't. I remember Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine.
Right, but just, we shared a few points in Glastonbury.
Oh, is that right?
Did we not?
I don't think so.
My bad.
Is this somebody? Okay, well.
No, I don't think he's really the person he's pretending to be.
From Carter.
You know what? I have been to Glastonbury, but I never knew. I never was the kind of person to be. Well, I would love to have hung out with bands, but no one ever asked me to share a pint at Glastonbury. So
you're
sure he's bogus.
You have your moment of glory now, though.
I do, yeah.
So, you know what? It's something a lot of people, you know, you read on the internet, and a lot of people, you know, were I guess going down to the home stretch, it was Soulcracker and Flickerstick, and Soulcracker was a band that were very dedicated to selling merchandise.
Yeah.
Like they worked hard on every, because for the structure of the show, you needed to sell X amount of merchandise, you know, dollar amount to win. It was based on a monetary lead that you got from merchandise.
And also obviously the bonus opportunities played into that as well.
Now a lot of people I've seen, going into it, I guess Soulcracker was about $3,000 up on Flickerstick going down the stretch, and then all of a sudden there was a $5,000 battle of the bands, which would give Flickerstick the chance to win the show. Now I've seen a lot of people say that they think that was so high because it would add an element of giving Flickerstick a chance to win. Where maybe if it was Harlow going into the final stretch, it wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have been so much money.
Yeah.
Well, right from the start, when we were first developing this show, before we even got a series pickup, one of the first things we thought about was, well, what happens if one band has to, gets way out ahead and that ceases to be a competition from that point onwards.
Okay.
So our plan, one thing I will say is that we didn't really tell the bands exactly what the format of the show was going to be. They didn't really know how the elimination was going to happen.
Okay.
That sort of thing. They didn't know going into it. They knew that they were going to be that bands were going to be eliminated as they went, but they didn't know about the battle of the bands element. We wanted to ensure that we had a prize big enough at the end that that going into the final episode, it was anyone's game.
Mm-hmm.
As far and the other thing that going into that last episode, Soulcracker definitely felt like there was no way that they could put themselves in a position to, where they would be safe no matter what. They felt they couldn't make that much money.
Mm-hmm. In merchandise and
yeah, they didn't think they could sell that much. I personally think that they probably could have. I mean, we knew that as well, that there were going to be these other bonus opportunities that they would get to make money on, I felt that they could have done that. I think they were only out by about $1,000 in the end, and
Mm-hmm.
they sold maybe a couple of $100 of merchandise in the last 7 days. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that was. I think they could have possibly put it out of reach, but even so, I mean, ultimately, one of the directives that I did get from VH1 is that that it really shouldn't. The show was never really intended to be just about money. I mean, it definitely presents that art versus commerce dilemma that all people who make their money in an artistic area face.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted the music to be an important part of it, and while there's no real fair way to judge one band against another, we tried to make it as fair as possible. Tried to make it not sort of 12 good men and fair or whatever, but like a good cross section of people who would vote on the music. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a rather roundabout answer to your question.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you feel that the best band won? I mean, do you feel that Flickerstick should have been the winners?
Not really. I think it would have been. I personally really like Soulcracker's music. I think they're an excellent band, and I definitely have noticed that people. I think that maybe, and I think Soulcracker acknowledged this while they were on the road as well, that they felt that maybe their music has a less broad appeal, but I don't think Flickerstick's a better band
Mm-hmm.
per se. I think Flickerstick are a band that are perhaps more accessible than Soulcracker, but like I say, I really like and admire Soulcracker a lot.
Mm-hmm. And we got another call coming in.
Okay.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome
this
to
is Andrew Paul Cage.
Okay. You're on the air with Dan Cutforth.
Awesome. I'm calling from Hollywood. I've listened to you on the internet.
Great. Oh, that's fantastic. People can listen at WFMU.org on their computers.
I'm a young actor.
Okay.
Done some stuff, some stuff. I got some bookings. And some callbacks.
Okay.
And I loved the show.
Bands on the Run.
Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you about what different kinds of feedback you've gotten from Paul McCartney, because I know that he had a record that has the name Bands on the Run.
I mean, was that that's actually a good question. Was that a licensing
issue? Was he psyched? Like, do you know which band he
which
wanted?
band Paul McCartney liked?
He wanted best to be the band to win, and did you know? Have you met him?
No, never have. I don't know.
But is that
he had a song called Wings had a song called Band on the Run, or a record called Band on the Run.
Yeah.
We actually. When we wanted to call the show Bands on the Run,
Mm-hmm.
the way that this always works is that your legal department goes and checks to see if the name is clearable, and it was.
Mm-hmm.
So
there was
no kind of legal issue.
Okay.
And I don't know if Paul McCartney likes the show. A lot of rock stars do like the show. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine is a big fan of the show.
Okay.
I know Billy Joe from Green Day, we sent complete set of tapes to so they could watch it in their tour bus.
Wow, that's. I mean, I guess everybody who's in a band would obviously have to. They could see themselves in some capacity of having either gone through this or at one point been at that point in their career of just, or it's kind of interesting to see it done, with a camera on all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in bands felt that way.
I got a question on the internet. Somebody wants to know, is there going to be a Bands on the Run marathon? And I can answer that question.
Okay.
I guess on August 11th, there will be a 7-hour Bands on the Run marathon on VH1. So I don't know when on August 11th. You have to check your local listings. I guess that's the first time I have ever got a chance to say that in my life. Check your local listings. But August 11th, there'll be 7 hours of Bands on the Run on VH1. Let's take another call. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, I got cut off.
Okay, yeah, well, we kind of got your answer.
Yeah, but I was just, but I was wondering about, it's hard on the internet because of the buffering,
Okay.
But sometimes it pauses and you can't hear what's going on.
So did you not get the answer to the question?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the guy, about his, do you like Paul McCartney?
No, I'm not a big Paul McCartney fan, particularly, no.
Okay, well, thank you for your call.
Why not? Hold on, whoa.
What? No, that's not very relevant to what. I guess that's the magic of opening the phones up nationwide. It's the crap. Hey, here's another question I had. Let me see. You were talking about the art versus commerce thing. Were you disappointed at any points that certain bands seemed to not get enthusiastic about the contests and the challenges? I mean, were you?
No, not at all. I really felt like all we could do was kind of just sit back and we would set this stuff up and let it happen. It was definitely. To be honest with you, no, I mean, yeah, we wanted it to be competitive but we didn't have to worry about that. It already was competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that everyone's different approaches to the competition were really fascinating. But to me anyway. I mean, that's why we put. I remember there was one episode where we put in this whole debate. I think when Harlow were driving down to New Orleans, they had this whole debate about how they should play the game and what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And all the bands, as much as they sort of like talk down the competition, they always hated the competition when they were doing really badly, and they loved it when they were doing well.
Sure.
And I was really content. As long as it was interesting, I didn't care whether they hated it. It was it's all good stuff as far as I'm concerned.
And now, were you surprised at? Going into it, did you have a feeling that Soulcracker were very competitive? Like, is that something you could pick up, that this band will bring this sort of, how they were just gangbusters through the whole. I mean, it's just like they were never afraid to kind of like sell merchandise, even in situations that, like, I guess Flicker Stick or other bands might have been embarrassed. Like to be on a college campus just playing guitar to people walking by. And
I knew that they were going to be like that to a certain degree. When we did the first test run of this up in San Francisco, they worked really hard, and I knew that they would work really hard. But they seem to have much more drive on the series than they did in the test. I was, in the pilot that we did. I was a little surprised at how competitive they were, but the way they said it, and I think this is totally understandable. They said, we applied to be on a game show. There were prizes that we wanted to win, and we tried to go out there and win it.
Yeah.
And what they said all along, which and again we tried to illustrate this on the show because I think it's true, is that all the bands wanted to win. They just weren't all prepared to be seen to be happy to win, if you see what I mean.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's another phone call. WFMU, you're on the air with Dan Cutforth from VH1.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Welcome to the States. I just want to let you know that I logged a lot of hours in front of Bands on the Run. I enjoyed it immensely.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I watched every episode. Easily, it was that in the PJs reruns, and that's really all I watched. And I was wondering, for the second installment, are you guys going to maybe stick to? I think you should go a little less corporate, maybe.
little less corporate.
Yeah, as far as the bands you select, like maybe, I don't know, something a little more in your face for the audience, like maybe early Fetch and Bones, maybe some Dred Zeppelin, something like
Dred
that.
Zeppelin?
Like a band like that, I don't know.
So you mean like established bands?
Well, no, I mean bands that have that kind of style, like kind of like the Infectious Grooves.
Did you say Dred Zeppelin?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I love Dred Zeppelin. I mean,
Oh, do you really?
I mean, yeah, I do. Yeah, I
They are
actually
great.
saw them years ago in London.
They
but
still tour. They still have albums out.
Really?
Yes, just like the Two Live Jews, they still have albums out.
Oh, cool. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, we've seen some bands for the second series who are a little bit different to the ones that we have, and some that are. I don't know if you mean by. Do you mean by corporate, kind of like accessible,
Right.
middle of the road
It's a
kind of
little more
bands?
exciting. Like, are you going to go with a girl band this time?
I would.
Well,
I
they
really want to go
They
with.
did have a girl band on.
Say again.
You guys did have a girl band on. I mean, I
Yeah,
have
no,
to correct the caller
I guess
on
he
that.
means would you go with another
Yeah,
girl
with
band?
another one is what I mean.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I love the energy of having a girl band. I think
Yeah,
there's
it's great.
something very different about a band that's all one gender as opposed to mixed,
Right.
if you know what I mean. I think you get a very different energy, and I think it's really interesting to
Have
see
you
a
ever
group
heard
of women
Babes
together.
in Toyland?
Huh?
Babes in Toyland.
Yeah, I mean, you know, your
like
hope is
that,
that you
maybe.
get those kind of Riot Girl, that kind of Riot Girl
Right,
type attitude.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for a Riot Girl revivalist movement, I think.
Yeah, you spearheading it.
You can lead the way. Maybe, Dan, you can lead the way.
Well, I will lead us all into a brighter future for
Okay, well,
Riot Girl
All right,
music.
I'm counting the moments until the second installment. Thanks, Dan.
All right, it's a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It, I guess it does. That begs the question, though. It's like, I mean, there would be. You know how people talk about a celebrity survivor? Have you
Yeah.
heard? You know, they talk about Kobe Bryant and
Yeah.
you know Ray Romano doing a celebrity. That would actually be wild if there was a celebrity bands on the run, where like if they actually had to hoof it into small towns where there was no lead time announcement, and you know.
I would. You know, I have actually thought about that idea, and I think that would be a lot of fun to do. The only thing that wouldn't be fun about it is you'd have a bunch of music, record label publicists buzzing around saying you can't show that and
Yeah,
put
that's
down that
true.
joint and whatever.
Yeah. Now was
so,
that,
you know,
that's another good point. Was there was one episode where I guess it was in New Orleans when you saw Harlow. It seemed like they went into a room and they came out, and it seemed like they were high when they came out, and they even made a reference to drugs or something.
Yeah.
I mean, was there a strict thing where you could not show? Yeah, I mean, obviously
you're not allowed to on VH1. You're not allowed to show drug use. As it turned out, it wasn't like a big part of the story anyway. I mean, there weren't. There really wasn't a lot of drug use going on the show.
It would just be like recreational. Once in a while, somebody
Yeah.
would get.
I mean, not like, I mean, I have heard of other reality shows where there was a lot of drug use going on that they can't show.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't like a big deal it was much more kind of sex and alcohol and rock and roll for us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I guess it's that's actually something, you have to take into consideration. You need a band that, isn't going to turn in at 10 o'clock on the show also, because
that's true.
then you've only got half of a storyline.
No, that's true.
All the excitement came from... Now, was there what was the level of you guys interacting with the bands? Like there was...
The crew, you mean?
Yeah, the crew. Like, there were a couple fights, and... I mean, like, what was your position on that? Did the band just film everything? And was there a line where it was understood, this is where we get involved? Like this is where we put the cameras down.
You mean if someone draws a knife, then we all get out of there?
I'm wondering if you had a plan with, like, an overall, like, this is the line that it's not a show anymore and we have to step in and shut the cameras off.
No, there was never really anything that we would not film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I'm trying to think.
How about even from a matter of, wondering about, I mean, I'm not trying to, I don't know. I mean, was there, a thing where you were worried that a cameraman could get pushed, or, when people are getting, like in the one episode when Flicker Stick are pushing that guy on the street. I mean, who's to say that somebody wouldn't just throw a bottle and it hits the cameraman?
Well, that could happen. I mean,
Yeah.
the camera operators knew that there was a certain element of risk in doing a show like this, but to be honest with you, most of them love it.
Okay.
When something like that goes off, that's when they get excited.
Yeah, they finally get to, it's like...
They get to shoot something they know is going to be on, and it's going to be really cool, and I think the adrenaline starts to flow for them because it's like a challenge of how far do I dare go to cover this to get the great shot, you know? They tend to relish those challenges, I think. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have some safety issues on the show, and we had to be really careful about it. But as far as the bands go, we would never step in and say, hey, come on, that's not cool. You know, we'd let them do whatever they wanted to do, and if they broke a law or something, then we would deal with it, you know, when it became an issue.
I mean, was there concern I mean, there was some minor acts of vandalism on the show, you know, people throwing road cones around, and you know. I mean, is that something where it's like now we're a party to, you know,
no, we
a
told
misdemeanor?
We told them that they were responsible for anything they did.
Okay.
And you know, and they knew that. They knew that we weren't going to be there to pick up the pieces for them, and if they did something wrong, they would have to face the music, and we would cover that too, probably. And yeah, fortunately, they're a pretty agreeable bunch of people on the whole. They didn't really they weren't. There was no kind of person who always had to be the guy who's in a fight. You know what I mean, or anything like that. It was. We were lucky in that respect.
Now, I guess we'll wrap things up. I just have one more question.
Okay.
It's, what is your relationship with the bands now? I mean, have you
with the bands?
Yeah, I mean, do you go see them, or
yeah,
have you?
Yeah, absolutely. When they're in town, I try and go and see them if I can, if you know, if work and all the rest of it allows. But I spoke to Flickerstick the other day. I had a call from Amanda from Harlow the other day. Bob came by the office a couple of weeks ago. Saw him. You know, I don't talk so much to the Josh Dotis band because they're on the other coast, and I don't really run into them. But yeah, I've kept up with all the bands, and you know, and whenever they're in town, we would send out a VH1 mass email to make sure that as many people as possible from the office would turn out to go and see their show. And yeah, they're all doing really well. They're all, from what I hear, things are going really well for all the bands.
Yeah, and it seems like, I guess, Flickerstick are even it seems like people are talking about them getting signed.
Yeah, I think they are getting signed.
I mean, do you know to who? Have you heard anything about that?
I just heard rumors that it's going to happen, but I think there are a few people in the frame. A few people want to sign them. I mean, they're doing particularly well. I mean, they're out, from what I gather, they're playing, you know, 1,000-seat arenas.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing for a band that's not signed.
Yeah, and I guess it comes off the fact that maybe their music ends up being the most accessible, where it's something that, you know, like girls and guys would like. I mean, you know. Yeah,
I think they're definitely, you know, riding the you know, success of the show right now for sure. I think there's a lot of interest in them as a result of the show, and also deservedly, because their music's really good, and people seem to really respond to it. I have a lot of friends, you know, in the industry who are really jaded people who love their music, and I hear a lot of people at record labels, even if they have no intention of signing them, love their music. And I mean, and a lot of people love Soulcracker. I heard that Harlow had a lot of label interest as well. I heard the Harlow record the other day, and it sounds great. I was really impressed.
The one produced by Pat Smear. Oh, that's great. We got one final call, and then we'll say goodnight to you.
Okay, great.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Yeah, Dan, I understand that you and Jane are producing another show, but not for VH1. Are you going to come back and produce Bands on the Run too?
Wow, how did you know that?
Well, let's just say that I've got inside information.
Oh, yeah, I guess you have. Yeah, Jane and I are working on a show for ABC right now, but, you know, Bands on the Run is something that's really close to our heart, and we're definitely going to be involved in some capacity if there's a second season.
Is it another reality show you're working on?
We're doing a show called The Runner for ABC.
Is that the one with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck? Wow, that's... Congratulations.
Oh, thanks very much.
And thanks for calling, Cole.
Hey, it's a pleasure. And sorry.
I was just saying goodnight to him, but now I'll say goodnight to you.
All right.
Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming on the show and talking. It was very interesting and very informative, and I know everybody listening appreciates it also.
Right. Tom, I very much appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Great. And you
send my warmest regards to Beastie.
I definitely will.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Good night. That was Dan Cutforth, from producer from Bands on the Run, and coming up shortly, we're going to have Beastie from the band Soulcracker. So, but in the meantime, let's listen to some music. Here's something from The Lost Kids on WFMU. right, you're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. And that was just Radio Birdmen with Descent into the Maelstrom. And I'd like to welcome to the show my next guest, which is the second part of our Bands on the Run show tonight. I'd like to welcome from the band Soulcracker Beastie to the show.
I feel welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you you're not coming down, but calling up and or letting me call you and be a part of the program. And
it's my pleasure.
Oh, well, thank you. And we just had Dan Cutforth on for the
Did you?
for the previous hour. He said hello.
Oh, well, hello, Dan Cutforth.
He sends his warmest regards to you.
I'm sure he does.
Now, I guess we might as well begin at the beginning. And how long Soulcracker has been around for? How many years?
It'll be 7 years in November.
Wow. So, and you guys are a San Diego-based band?
Yeah, we started the band in Flagstaff, Arizona. We all went to school there.
Okay.
And we moved out to San Diego in like May of '97.
All right. And you guys put out your own records pretty much. You're pretty independent in that regard. Is that?
Yeah, that's totally accurate. Yeah, we started our own record company called Large Marge Records.
Okay.
And we just put out like 2 weeks ago. We just got in our sixth release on the label, and the new release is called At Last For You.
Okay, so, and I guess people can go to soulcracker.com to...
Absolutely, you can go to soulcracker.com to buy it.
And now, how did the whole Bands on the Run experience come about for you guys? When did you first hear about the auditions for the show?
It was kind of weird. We were doing some work with like a local .com company that has since folded,
Okay.
Like many of them have, but... we were just doing some work with a local .com that was, working with a lot of the bands locally and stuff. And one of the guys that worked there heard about the show somehow.
Okay.
And so the first time I ever heard about it, this guy who I had never even met had already sent in our stuff to our promo kit to VH1, and VH1 liked it, and they sent us out some questionnaires, like some written questionnaires to do, and then had us film ourselves, being asked a couple of questions. And after that, there was a battery of screen tests, and we played a couple of gigs with a bunch of other that were in consideration, and they ended up picking us.
Okay, and is it something that you guys, as a band, went into saying, all five of you were saying, this is an opportunity we should take advantage of, or was there some debate over whether this was the right thing, or where were you guys?
There was definitely debate, I mean, we all saw the value in being piped into a lot of people's homes, but I think Ramsey in particular was one who was thinking about how much we are jerks from time to time, and how that would look to the whole public watching the show. Ramsey's laughing right now. He's hanging out watching Best of Show on my pirated cable.
Wow. Hey, how about that? You just confessed to a. I guess that's a federal crime, pirating cable?
Sure. Hey,
why not?
Bring it on, man.
Yeah, send them over.
Yeah.
So were you? How did you feel about that, though? What was your mindset going into the audition process, or just the possibility of you actually getting picked? And
Well, it's really funny. I was the one who kept saying, whenever we would have the debate on whether or not it was a good idea to do the TV show, I was always the one that, my quote was always, look, guys, they can only show what we do. I said, as long as we're ourselves, then they can't mess with that. And boy, was I wrong, So I think I've like disallowed myself from thinking ever, thinking I know the right thing to do.
What aspects did you feel that might not have been the case?
Well, in as much as to
where maybe you felt that did you feel that the footage, because I guess they shot you guys 24 hours a day, or
right?
Did you feel that obviously there's going to be a human element to how that footage is manipulated and shaped into a
right.
Did you feel that there was some were certain things played up too much, or some things not played up enough, or I mean.
I can tell you this. I mean, I kind of have two main thoughts on that. As far as the music goes, as far as our music and what we do as a band musically, I really don't think anybody got a taste of that. I know nobody got a taste of that, because now every time we play, people in the audience come up to us when we're done and say, "Oh my God, that TV show didn't do you justice. I can't believe it. I came here expecting you guys to not be that great, or expecting you to suck." And people aren't afraid to say that. And then they say, "But you blew us away," and I feel bad for having let myself be manipulated. We hear that every time we play. So I know musically we didn't get represented really accurately. But again, I don't think any band did. I mean, when you're hearing. You're lucky to hear a minute's worth of a song in an episode, So I think, the music wasn't concentrated on enough. And then as far as, like showing us as people, we had one agenda, which was to win a bunch of new equipment, And so, we never really concentrated on saying the right things or dressing the right way or anything like that. We were just kind of being ourselves, and, if we were bitchy sometimes, then... I can deal with people knowing about that, but at the same time, I think when they don't edit episodes as they happen. They know who won and who lost and who they want the audience to have sympathy for and who they don't want the audience to have sympathy for, and they edit accordingly with the end in mind. It's just like any other TV show or game show or whatever.
Now, I guess you guys. You went into it. You were willing to sell the merchandise and to sell yourselves in terms of you'd promote the shows by playing acoustically, and and you'd try to do the challenges. You'd try to win them. And I mean, do you feel that in the end result that footage almost makes you guys look different than you were? I mean, a lot of people I talk to feel that it's like, oh, they're just so gung ho, and like, I guess people get turned off to that, or I mean, do you feel that's accurate, or
well, it's we were definitely there to win, I mean, it's fun, as far as like selling merchandise and stuff. The reason, and this is something I don't think that comes across in the TV format and in the editing process or whatever. And I don't want to be one of the. There's going to be a clan of reality cast members in the world soon, like a secret society of them that all cry, "We got the bad edit," and that's not what we're saying at all. You know, we really don't feel that way. I'm totally happy with what this has done for the band, and I'm not embarrassed or anything like that. I just wish people could have seen more of what we do musically. You know. Gosh, where was I?
Well, let me just say my guest is Beastie from the band Soulcracker, who were one of the 4 bands who were on the VH1 show Bands on the Run. And I want to ask you, how present were the cameras? Dan Cutforth just told me that they were that they had 2 crews, and I guess they were on 12-hour shifts.
Right.
So, I mean, was there a camera on you at every? I mean, you know, wherever you went, was there a camera?
Yeah, there was. The only time the camera wasn't on you was when you literally fell asleep. You know, I mean, they would stop rolling when you were sleeping. So like any other time they were rolling on us, but you know, like if you turned off your light and you know you were in your nighttime clothes or whatever, but you were still talking, they would still be there.
Okay.
As soon as you were no longer talking or moving, they would shut the cameras off.
Now, was that hard for you to exist with, or for you know, for the whole band to? I mean, it's just like literally, there's somebody just watching you at every minute. How did you get used to it, and how did you deal with it?
Well, that was one of the easiest parts of the whole experience for us, because again, we never like were trying to act or portray an image. We were just being ourselves all day, every day. So it wasn't difficult to. I never censored myself or anything, you know, or said, "Gosh, do I look good from this side?" or something like that. So it was just something that was a piece of cake, because we just really didn't care.
Was there ever any time that you did want to ditch them?
Well, I'm sure, you know, sometimes if one of us was messing around with a girl, and you know, then there are some things you want to try to keep private, and get away from the cameras for, you know.
How did you do that?
The bathroom was always a good option.
Uh-huh.
Because it has a door that locks.
Okay. So it was understood that they will not, that if you go into the bathroom and the door shuts, all you can maybe do is hear what's going on.
Right, that's correct.
Okay. So.
And just in case anybody who's listening watched the show, I did make out with girls and do stuff with girls during the tour because I like girls.
Uh-huh. Because it seems like you actually kind of, you know, like, I guess Flicker Stick were the band that seemed to be, you know, they wore that label of just being these dogs kind of going from town to town and breaking hearts, and but you guys kind of, I mean, there were incidents on the show, but it wasn't your storyline as you know.
That's you just put it exactly how it is. It wasn't our storyline.
Uh-huh. It was
whether or not we do it or not. That wasn't the story
that
people were going to see. So.
Now, when you first saw the first episode, I mean, were you comfortable ultimately with the way it came out?
At first, I was my girlfriend just walked in, and I was just about to jump in the shower when you called, so I was just wearing a towel.
See, and wow, see, there's a thrill for everybody listening.
Yeah. Wait, I forgot your question.
Oh no, it was how did you feel about finally seeing the first episode?
You know, at first it was really exciting, and I would have my friends over to the house, and we'd watch the show, and it would end, and I would turn off the TV and stand up and say, "Okay, everybody, point and laugh at me and call me stupid now," you know. And then once I really started seeing which route they decided to go with the storylines, you know, it got a little bit. I was kind of over it pretty quickly. So. Okay. The group get-togethers to watch the show curbed themselves pretty quickly, and by the last 4 or 5 episodes, there was really I didn't have any gusto for watching the program.
Now, how did you feel when you saw on the episodes the other bands talking about you guys, or you specifically as a person or as a musician?
You know, it didn't faze me. I don't care. You know, what's funny is, you know, when I first started seeing how much of a, you know, how disrespectful towards us they were, I was a little surprised because, of course, I had already known everything that happened on the series. So, you know, I knew there was going to be this big. I knew they were going to really over dramatize the whole time. There was an episode where I called them like corporate yuppie rock. You know? And I knew that would get on there, and it's just so funny to see people raising a stink about a comment I made when they're having audience members chant that another band sucks. You've never once heard anybody in Soulcracker say any of those bands sucked. You never will hear us say that. We would never be that disrespectful to any band, even if they did suck. You know, so.
I mean, because the way I was pulling for you guys on the show, and you know, amongst my friends, I got the feeling I was, you know, in the minority. I don't know why, but you know, I mean, I didn't care. But it just the thing that with, like, when it came down to you and Flicker Stick, it almost seemed like they were trying to get shaped as being like real, you know, like quote unquote, like real. And I just kind of I thought that was not the most accurate portrayal of them or you.
I could probably agree with you, and that's what I was going to say when I lost my train of thought earlier. You know, like, the reason we sold so much stuff and were winning the series until they changed the rules at the end, we were winning for so long because we love to play our music, and we play every night, and, you know, particularly when we're on the road, you know, there's no reason not to play when you're on the road, otherwise you're just spending money to be out there. So we play every night, and every time we play, people like us enough to leave with an album, you know, and that was something that the show didn't portray. They I don't think they wanted you to understand that or have that kind of sympathy for Soulcracker for some reason.
Now, it's like with the Battle of the Bands. I mean, the show obviously was structured around these Battle of the Bands coming up every, you know, I don't know how often, but after a Battle of the Bands, someone would say goodbye. And how did you feel about that whole experience of just, you know, there are these stops of all of a sudden you will just be judged against the other bands on the show, you know, with judges rating you?
Well, my thoughts on that, initially, that was something they sprung on us. We didn't know that was going to happen until the first one came. And they said, oh, we're going to have a battle of the bands.
Okay.
That was news to everybody. And then after that, we kind of realized, okay, they're going to do that every time. And, you know, it's battles of the bands are kind of strange things because, you know, it doesn't really show. First of all, there can be more than one great band at one time, you know, in one club even, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a pointless thing. And then on top of that, you know, one audience on one night in one kind of club that draws a certain kind of people, you know, that doesn't really mean anything about how good or bad your band is, you know.
Yeah.
So I never have really taken those situations seriously, and I especially don't now, you know.
Now, I guess a lot of people, I mean, I read your message boards at your website, soulcracker.com, and a lot of people, it seems like you in particular were the first person that a lot of people zeroed in on, either positively or negatively. I guess I would say that would come from the fact that you were comfortable talking and had a presence, you know, like, you know, you weren't mumbling and talking into your neck.
Right.
And, I mean, you've generated a lot of feelings both ways. I mean, how did you deal with that while you're in the band and people are criticizing you, though, as,
right.
you know,
I didn't really expect that. I've just, the way I live my life is trying to relate to people and get to know people and understand people. And I'd like to think that I've never had like a mean-spirited bone in my body, you know.
Okay.
So I was really shocked when I started hearing about all the people that hate my guts. You know, I don't think they hate my guts because I ever said anything mean or anything like that, you know. I don't think I've ever been a person that talks about people or anything. So, about people or anything. So, I don't know. At first it was disheartening for sure on a personal level, but then I just realized, you know what? I know that anybody who comes to see Soulcracker and comes to talk to us after we're done, I know that they're going to realize what we're about and who we are as people, and they'll be pleasantly surprised.
Now, were you shocked at what? Like, I mean, I personally, I can only speak for myself, obviously. When I saw what, it's like when you guys would get the air let out of your tires by Flicker Stick, and it's like that's all good and fun. But then all of a sudden, if you say that there's no, like you said the corporate yuppie rock thing the one time, and then all of a sudden, as far as Flicker Stick were concerned, that's like you just broke one of the 10 commandments of being in a band. You can't do that. You know, it's like it just seemed like, and it seemed like they were kind of a little, kind of like I picture if you guys would have won the final battle of the bands, like they would have just been crying the whole time, you know, crying foul. And
absolutely.
And it seems like you guys, you know, you were pretty gracious ultimately in the, you know, I mean, obviously it must have hurt, you know, because you want to win.
Well, it didn't even hurt so much. I kind of expected it. So.
But just going, I mean, you know, but you still, I mean, you take your lumps, and you were pretty gracious to them, I thought, and
yeah.
I just.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, please, absolutely.
But you know, I mean, you're a person who followed the show, obviously, and what's I'd say the funniest part about the whole process is not so much what they put in. Like, I'm totally fine with what was edited in, but you know, like I was saying earlier, they edit so that you have sympathy towards certain groups and don't have sympathy towards others. So there were I was never amazed by what got in the show. I was amazed by what was left out.
Okay.
And I really wish that I had talked to you first, because maybe you could ask the producers of the show about that and how they chose.
Oh yeah, I mean, I did talk to him, and he said Dan says he had no regrets about the way any of the bands were portrayed. So, I mean, that's
Well, I
what he's...
guarantee he has no regrets about it. It worked out just fine.
Yeah, I mean, is there a general, post-show, animosity or just, unhappiness with...
There's no animosity at all. This has been such a great thing for Soulcracker, for all the bands on the show, It's done so much good for us, and the primary good that it's done is having opened a lot of ears throughout the nation to us, Soulcracker. I mean,
Sure.
that's the most we could ever ask for, and that's what we've been getting. So it's great. We have no bitterness. We're so glad we did it. It's great. It's affording us a lot of opportunities that we haven't had before. So it's incredible. But sometimes when I look at it, I really see, and I remember what happened on the tour and what I know they got on camera, and a lot of times they left things out just to make the good guys look great and the bad guys look bad.
Yeah, I mean, were you guys at all suspicious about that mysterious $5,000 that all of a sudden showed up that would have put Flicker Stick over the top with the Battle of the Bands?
Yeah, we were. That was a little bit of a shock to us. We had played by the rules completely the whole time, and then at the very end they decided to completely change the rules. So we did the best with the change of rules.
Yeah,
and ultimately at the end of the day, all that happened is we didn't win we didn't take home the game show prize.
Yeah, it just seems like if it was you guys and Harlow going down the stretch, I would be surprised if it was $5,000 that was put on the table.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, would you be willing to take some phone calls?
Sure.
Because the phones have actually been going nuts since we started talking.
All right.
Okay, let's...
Hey, Ramsey, I'm taking some phone calls. All right.
The phone number
Make sure
is...
you have the death threat button.
Okay. All right, I'm ready for any and all death threats. Please, no death threats tonight. Give the guy a break. The number is 201-200-9368, and let's put some calls on the air. WFMU, you're on the air.
Beastie.
Person.
Dude, you
Hello.
guys, I have to tell you, have become like my favorite band. It's an honor to talk to you, man. Absolutely amazing group, man. Especially you. You really sparkle.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Dude, I found out about the show because I was like babysitting for my niece, and I didn't have cable or anything, and I happened to see the show, and I'm like, whoa. These guys are great. I ended up getting cable just to watch the show.
Wow.
Dude, I'm telling you, you guys, I think, are going to be huge. No doubt. I would bet my life on it. You're going to be the biggest name in a few years, bro.
You know what? I feel the same way.
And, I know that you can't say it, but you know that those other bands, dude, they were poser bands. You guys are really, I mean that. You guys are like real people.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate talking to you, man.
Thank you.
Good luck, bro.
Well, thanks for calling.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Right. See, that was not a death threat.
Totally not a death threat. I can stop sweating.
Oh, not yet, actually. There's still more phone calls. WFMU.
As long as the first one wasn't a death threat, I'm okay.
Okay.
With that.
FMU, you're on the air. Let's get it. Okay.
How's it going?
WFMU, you're on the air.
Hello.
Beastie, what's up?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Well, I'm wearing just a towel. I was just about to jump in the shower.
Wow. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Hey, I'm calling from Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis.
Yeah, I saw you guys down here at the Young Avenue Deli when you played there. You rocked.
Thank you, brother.
You did rock.
I appreciate it.
I just want to let you know right now I got like 2 or 3 questions for you. Is that cool?
Yeah, fire away.
All right. First of all, where did you come up with the name?
Of the band?
Yes.
You know what? It's kind of funny.
Awesome.
It was just one of those situations where we were sitting around for hours and hours throwing names out.
Yes.
Getting drunk and thinking we were really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And,
well, you are really funny. That's a great name. It's funny. It's poignant. I mean, do you have a tat of the name?
I don't.
You don't?
Actually, I don't think there's a single tat in our band.
Wow, you are a tat-free band.
Tat-free.
Now, have you seen Soulcracker tattoos?
I have.
On other people? Well, you have one?
No, I don't have one.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have seen. Okay. How about
I'm in a band down here in Memphis called Sweet Box Nubbins.
Uh-huh.
And we're kind of like you guys.
Thank you.
You know, we're kind of hard, heavy, poppy.
I'm
kinda,
glad you say that.
We do a little
Hard, heavy,
third wave
and poppy.
ska. But yeah, you guys are great. I mean, the other guys in the band hate the name and they want to change it.
Right.
They want to name the band something silly like the Five That Framed Paula Poundstone or something like that. But anyway, no. And my second question was on the show. That other band, Flicker Stick.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, what was up with that band, like, accusing you of something? You guys almost got into it.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. We were just trying, towards the end of the series, there was a battle of the bands coming up, and we wanted to drum up the hard rock crowd's support. So we were just trying to explain to other people, that we were playing against, it was kind of a hard rock band playing against a light rock band. And
I thought so they got mad that you called them a white rock band?
A light rock.
Light rock band.
Light rock. I call them corporate rock.
Corporate rock, that's
really
right. That's what I remember from the show. They got it all up in your face.
Yeah.
If I had been there,
What's
if I had
that?
been there when that happened,
Uh-huh.
dude, I love your band. If I had been there when that happened, Flicker Stick wouldn't have made the rest of the tour.
Wow.
I mean, it wouldn't have.
I was
You don't
prepared
do
to
that
throw
to
down if they wanted to. And even better would have been to let them just beat the hell out of me so I could say, wow, you guys are pretty macho. I hope you feel better.
I don't know. I don't think I'd want to see Beastie get beaten up.
Me neither.
I don't want to see that. I just don't want to see it. I mean, you guys are incredible.
Thank you. Hey, did you get the new album yet?
Yes, I do. It rocks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks
Incredible.
for calling.
All right, well, Beastie, it's been a slice talking to you.
Right on, brother.
It's been incredible. So hopefully I'm gonna see you next time you come through.
We'll be there in September.
Oh, you'll be in Memphis in September?
Is Memphis in September, Ramsey? August. We'll be there in August. Keep an
All
eye
right,
on
I'll be the one with the
Soulcracker.com.
football helmet on.
All right.
I'll see you.
It's the dude with the football helmet.
Okay, well, look, you know who to look for.
I remember that guy.
Okay, well, let's take another. The phones are going absolutely nuts for Beastie from the band Soulcracker and the TV show Bands on the Run. WFMU, you're on the air.
Yeah, Beastie, a couple of questions. Y'all got the new record coming out.
Right.
This new record that you got coming out, is it all new songs or part of it some of the old songs?
I think there are 5 tracks that we had released before. That we had released on on an EP.
Right.
And rather than repressing that EP, we said let's just put out a big album. So we recorded 10 new tracks and then remixed the 5 older ones. So there's 15 tracks on the new album.
So 15 tracks. Second, the guy that threatened you over the internet, they ever catch the guy?
They never did catch him. They kind of bounced back and forth between the FBI and local police here. So they're still working on it.
And the last thing, on the battles of the bands, there's been so much conversation about these VH1 judges. How many judges were there that got 5 points counted toward the total score on each one of these Battle of the Bands?
Well, we don't know. They kept all of that information away from us, which is kind of weird. When I look back on it, I don't understand why any of that had to be a secret. You know, it would have made total sense to have everybody know what was going on, because that way at the end you wouldn't have people speculating the way there's so much speculation going on now.
Well, I own 3 of your albums. You got some great music. I like Flicker Stick better, but you guys got some great songs.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
Hey,
People can like both bands. It is humanly possible.
Like I said, there can be more than one good band at once.
Okay.
And Flicker Stick is a good band.
Okay. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask a question.
Ask away.
Oh my God, am I talking to Beastie?
Yes, you are.
Oh my God, I loved you guys. I loved your band. I thought it was great. I really fell in love with you guys personally. I was looking forward to each show, watched the reruns. I was this band is great. But I wanted to ask about the girlfriend situation. I know that a couple of you guys had girlfriends and they kind of showed some things and some people turned off mics, but I was wondering if that caused any breakups or
well, hold on, Ramsey, did being on the TV show cause any breakups with girlfriends in the band? I want to hear what he says. Yes, it did. Okay, yeah, Ramsey and his girlfriend broke up. And then I think Sutton and his girl took a very short break, and they're back together, though.
Well, that's nice. That's good. Well,
and I got a girlfriend out of the whole deal, so I'm cool with that.
See, so you really won. You lost, but you won.
It's true.
See? Well, thank you for calling. caller.
Okay. I really liked you guys. Like, I personally just fell in love with you guys.
Well, thank you. Keep an eye out for us.
Do you ever come to New Jersey?
Yeah, we're going to be in Long Branch in the end of August or early September.
Long Branch.
I'm sure.
I guess you can go to your website, the band's website, Soulcracker.com.
Yeah, if you go to Soulcracker.com, you can see all of our tour dates.
And can I just tell you one more thing about the music? I definitely think that they didn't show justice because I tried to hear some of your music, and I love that song, Staring at the Sun.
Okay.
And I found myself, I didn't have the CD or anything, didn't know how to get it, and I found myself singing it just a little bit that it was very catchy. And
oh, thanks. That's the one that I like a lot, too.
Yeah, very good. And how you guys were arguing about, like, the whole, at first I saw the band, and it was very original how, like, you were just singing. I said, who's the real singer here? And you guys just really, mesh well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you get it.
Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
See? No death threat. See, we've taken 4 calls now.
No death.
You have not received one death threat. Not even anything close to one.
I can put down all my Ritalin.
See? Put it down. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Mike. I'm calling from South Carolina.
Hi, Mike.
How are you doing, BC?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Pretty good. First of all, I want to compliment your band for being a little more actually accessible to your fans.
Thank you.
Yeah, because, the website's great, and aside from all the vitriol that's on it, I've even been, got into some email conversations from Sutton, from somebody from his home state, so to speak.
Right.
But how do you react to all that? My question is, I guess, how do you react to all that crap that's on the website? And why do they let it keep flowing that way? Because, it's pretty damn hateful, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that hate us, and me in particular. And it's kind of funny because we kind of take a punk rock attitude towards a lot of things, and when all of the negativity started, like even Flickr Stick's an example. They started getting negativity and really bad stuff thrown onto their website, so they just took that whole medium away, and now they edit it and all that stuff. And our attitude is people are going to say what they're going to say, and I'm not going to edit it. We're not sissies. We can take it if one of the bullies at school throws a rock, who cares? So, the way I personally deal with all the when somebody just says you're ugly, that doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But I just don't read it.
Well, don't worry. There's people hitting on you there too. So.
What's that?
I said, don't worry. You're getting hit on there too. All of you are.
All right. Good.
By a lot of 13-year-olds.
Hey,
that's not so good. Well, thanks for calling.
Not a problem. Hope to see you in South Carolina.
We'll be there soon, man. Keep an eye on Soulcracker.com.
All right. Thanks a lot.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Tom? How you doing?
All right, how are
doing,
you?
Beastie?
Hey, I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. I'm just curious. Looking back, now that you've gone through it all and you've seen the whole process and everything that went on, do you think the band would again try to get on the show?
Yeah, we would, because so much good has come out of it. The only thing that's bad that has come out of it is people attacking our character as people, and even that's not that bad. So,
but with the camera following you at all times, wouldn't you kind of act a little bit? I mean, you guys definitely put on a show when you guys were on stage. When the camera was following you.
Yeah, I've thought about that in retrospect, and I think, maybe we should have been more conscious of the cameras, and maybe we should have gone ahead and worked hard at saying the right thing and dressing the right way and all that stuff. But sometimes when I think, gosh, maybe we would have gotten a lot more support from the viewing public if we would have censored ourselves and maybe scripted ourselves a little bit. But it's just not us, and it's not cool to not be yourself at all times. So I'm glad we were ourselves, even if it made us look like putzes once in a while.
But how could you be yourself when the camera's constantly on you? You had to change. I mean, you had to definitely work. I mean, you have to be conscious of that at all times. You can't be yourself. You can't be the band that you were.
Well, I can tell you this. The only way that it really ever affected any of us, and we've talked about it since then, and I guess even during, that if you're just sitting there chilling out, like if Ramsey and I are in the same room and we're not doing anything, we're not involved in the conversation, and the camera walks in, you kind of feel obligated to start a conversation, because otherwise they're just sitting there, and it's kind of uncomfortable to just have somebody looking at you doing nothing, you know. So the only way we would act is the only acting we did was as far as just maybe being starting conversations when, you know, forcing a conversation to start, but we would never try to say something cool or try to say something profound or try to be funny, you know. We just were ourselves.
Great. Well, thanks for calling. Let's get another call on here. WFMU, you're on the air.
Oh, my God. Hi. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit nervous right now.
Wait a second. Is this somebody from Atlanta, Georgia?
No, I'm calling from Washington State.
Washington State. Okay.
Is this Beastie?
Yes?
Hi. Oh, my God. I'm calling from Olympia. My name is Trish. I play in a band called Trapper Keeper. We're a Riot Girl band.
Nice.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I love Riot Girls.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. I can't believe you guys are tattoo-free, first of all.
I know. It's pretty crazy.
And secondly, hey, oh, my God. You're my favorite guy. You're my favorite guy.
Thank you.
Oh, God. If I was a police woman and I pulled you over, I would give you a ticket for being way too hot.
Oh, say that again. Slower, more breathy, and pretend you're 14.
I cannot believe it.
Wait, I don't think...
Sorry. Oh, God. Hey, do you know Max from Superchunk?
What's that?
Do you know Max from Superchunk?
Do I know who?
Max from Superchunk?
No, I don't.
He produced our new single. If you guys ever play in Olympia, we want to open up for you.
You're in Washington?
Yes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we're not going to be getting up to Washington on this tour. But
oh, please.
I know it sucks, but we'll try. We might try to swing up that way on the end of the tour, like in maybe sometime in October. But definitely, if shoot me an email. Just email beastie@soulcracker.com, and I'll try to get your information.
We're using girl power.
What's that?
I'm going to get a Soulcracker tat on my back. It's my first one.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I would be so honored if you did that.
It's going to be my first tattoo, and I'm getting it. I mean, you don't think I'm going to regret it, do you?
I wouldn't. I won't regret it if you get my band's name tattooed on you.
A big back piece.
Go for it.
All right.
My mother finds out I'm dead, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going to send you a picture, too. I love you, Beastie!
Okay. Wow. That sounds like something you might want to get looked at before you get that tattoo. I think you might want to just go see a GP. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, BC. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Fantastic. I just wanted to say that I thought Soulcracker was the best band.
Thank you
and,
so much.
They were much better than that lame flicker stick. I thought you guys were robbed in Battle of the Bands.
Well, I appreciate you being on our corner there.
I think those people who blew it, they had no idea what they were doing. They could have made a move against corporate rock, and they didn't. And the other thing I wanted to say was I also really, really appreciated your, totally...
Wait, 1 second. I live right under the airport, so I couldn't hear the last thing you said.
Let's see. I really appreciated your totally honest, no BS, little thing that you were talking to Tom about when you were talking about the reality of the editing process in a reality show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How you were saying how they sort of angle the footage to make certain to make people sympathetic towards certain characters. And it's allegedly a reality show, but the reality is totally skewed and twisted. And it was so refreshing to hear you be totally honest about it, not BS and not be this totally phony thing, a shill for the show. I thought it was, you know what I mean? You had an honest critique, which I really... Well, I thought it was par for the course because I thought you guys were the best, most honest band anyway.
Thank you so much. That's something Sutton and I talk about a lot when we're writing music is we want to be as sincere as possible, and we try to be like that as people, too. So.
Great. Well, thank you for calling.
Oh, wait. I just want one more other thing.
Okay.
I just also wanted to say that you, Beastie, I thought you were the most... Out of all the people, out of all the bands, everything, your personality just popped out off the screen. Most interesting, most engaging. Loved every time you were on camera. I was like, captivated. And then one more quick thing. I need to get the CD. And what you said you could get it off the website?
Yeah, go to soulcracker.com and you can order all of our stuff from there.
Great.
And actually, Ramsey and I are the ones who process all of our orders out of my garage. So.
Oh, my God, that's so awesome.
So we'll send it to you personally.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
The phone number is 201-200-9368. WFMU, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, I'd like to speak with Beastie.
This is Beastie.
Beastie, this is Katie.
Katie.
Yes, I wanted to say hi to you. I saw you live at the Hard Rock
Okay.
in New York City.
Hello, Katie.
And my question is, where can I find a copy of the song The Devil Does?
That's on our new album, At Last For You. We just recorded it.
Tell me about it.
The song?
Yeah. How did you come up with it? It was outrageous.
Thank you. It's kind of funny. We after we got back from the VH1 tour, as the TV show was airing, there was also an online competition. You know, and they had different challenges every week for all the bands. And one of the challenges they presented to the bands were, you know, they said each band has to write a song using the line "The Devil Does." And we thought, okay, we'll just do that then. And Sutton really took the ball on that one in particular. And
it really came off well at the club. It was amazing, and it just blew me out of the chair. I was so impressed, and your live show is so different. You were really right. The TV show did not give you that view at all.
It's true.
So I really, really love that, and I think your band blew it out of the water. I'm a musician. All my friends are musicians. We loved you guys. You worked hard. You were dedicated. And to think that people were faulting you for that just blew us. We couldn't believe it.
It's kind of weird.
That's what it is. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
we were hysterical that you would pull into college campuses and just set up and play, and we were inspired. So I thank you for that, and we'll keep going the way you guys keep going, and I can't wait to get the CD so I can get a copy of that record.
Go to Soulcracker.com and march on, rock and roll soldier.
Great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Not one death threat still. We're 20-something minutes into the phone calls.
Wow.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Hello, is this Beastie?
This is Beastie.
My name is Blaze.
Hello, Blaze.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
I'm a stylist here in New York. Welcome to the Big Apple, honey.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the fashion.
About the what?
About the fashion on Bands on the Run.
Okay.
I cannot believe they gave it to those just sick men.
The chicks?
No. That hideous band that beat you guys.
Oh, okay.
Like the Dare to Keep Your Kids Off Drugs shirt.
Uh-huh.
Was disgusting. I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it.
That's great.
I mean, that's just the ironic T-shirt thing. You're breaking new ground with it.
Thank you very much.
Do not change a thing.
What's funny is we were playing a show, it's somewhere in Ohio, I think it was in Ohio last week, and somebody came up to me, a fan from the show, and said, "You always have the coolest T-shirts." And the reason that the girl had said that was because that day I was wearing a "Who Shot JR" T-shirt that I just had made.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, the phones were just flashing there. 201-200-9368 is the number. I know people are excited to talk to my special guest Beastie from the band Soulcracker, from the television show Bands on the Run. But you are a real band. This is not the Monkees.
Right. Yeah, that's something I wanted people to understand too. We've been together forever. And actually, earlier in the program, you were asking me something about the audition process and everything. And originally, when we first agreed to do the show, one of the things I wanted to show people is how crappy this level of the music business is. You know, like how the fact that you have to tour nonstop and you have to dig under the seat for 50 cents for a burrito, and you have to ask at every show, is there a couch we can sleep on? And that was one of the unfortunate things about the TV shows, because we all stayed in luxury hotels the whole time and got money for food every day. So that was something I hope people don't think that's how it is, because it's not that way.
So there was, obviously the reality of touring is a lot less glamorous than what anybody saw on the show.
There's no glamour in touring, unless you think sitting in a van with 5 sweaty guys and everybody's pooping their pants because all they can eat is hot dogs from the gas station. Unless that's glamorous, then there's none.
Another call coming in. WFMU, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Beastie?
I'm doing well.
I have a couple questions for you.
Lay them on me.
Okay, firstly, I don't know how you feel about Dan Cutforth, but he had really high praise for you. and he said that you were sort of the most articulate, media savvy of the bunch.
Well, thank you.
And I was wondering if you had any offers, any on-camera offers to maybe be a spokesmodel or a VJ of some
Oh,
sort.
since the show?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I got to turn my phone up. There we go. No, not really. There's actually one movie, an indie film that's coming out, and they want me to play a part in it. But
are you going to do it?
I think so. I'm going to read for them and see if they like it. I've done some acting, and I've always wanted to do more, but it's definitely, I'm not going to switch my focus from Soulcracker to anything else right now, but if it works in my schedule,
Not yet.
I'll try something else.
Another question for you.
Yeah.
I realize that you're very dedicated to the band and everything, and you sort of keep this attitude of being sort of above the whole reality TV thing.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you feel a little bit of persecuted by everything that's been going on? I mean, how do you not let that get to you?
I think the main way it doesn't get to me is my band members won't let it get to me.
How do they protect you?
They just don't, if they're reading, I don't read the message boards and I don't post on the message boards, I don't, nobody needs to read that much bad stuff about yourself.
No.
Sure, I imagine it would really bruise the ego. Now, has anyone stopped you on the street and threatened you bodily, with their fists?
No. I think a couple of times people on the street have walked by, maybe a handful of times, like 5 times. People have maybe just said, "You guys suck," but it's nothing more than that. Mostly we get a pretty good reaction wherever we go.
Today I saw Mike D on the street of the Beastie Boys, and I wanted to ask him how he felt about you.
I would like to know myself.
But he was having a moment with his baby, and so I thought I shouldn't interrupt him.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Thanks, Beastie.
No sweat.
Great. Thanks for calling. 201-200-9368 is the number. There's another 5 minutes left in the program, and we are joined by Beastie from the band Soulcracker. Now, one thing I guess is like the underlying structure of the show. Getting back to that was you guys got pinned as being the band with the you were the commerce band,
right?
And Flickerstick was the art band.
Yeah.
I mean, which I think is. I mean, was that just jaw dropping to you when you saw that that's the way it was shaping up?
It wasn't jaw dropping. I mean, to a certain extent, that's true. But we're not a commerce band. We're a band that goes out and plays to audiences every night.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys are following like a template that, bands like All have followed, or the Descendants and things that are just bands who you go out, you make your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not reliant on any corporation, and I don't see how that gets somehow transformed into being just like a crass commercial band.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's really funny, and I'm the same way. But everybody loves the underdog, and you hate the overdog. And I think just because we go out and play every night, and we're serious during the taping of the show, we became the overdogs, and the guys who gave up after a couple episodes, and started drinking became the underdogs, and so that's where the sympathy fell.
Mm.
It wasn't, it's not that unusual,
mm-hmm.
but again, I just don't think they really let people understand the reason we make so much money is because we play music every night,
mm-hmm.
and that's the most important thing there is, and we play it well enough that at least a few people every night are going to walk away with an album.
Now, were you shocked personally at any of the the horror shows that some of the other bands' personal lives became as the show progressed? Like Corey doing all the stuff he was doing, or Rex kind of having his own meltdown.
Yeah, I was very sympathetic towards everybody as far as that stuff goes, and
mm-hmm.
even during the tour, that's something they didn't show. I was counseling Corey at the end of the taping of the series about what to do with his girl.
mm-hmm.
I mean, what I thought was fair and what would be nice and all that stuff. I have a lot of sympathy for people who make mistakes like that, just because not because I've ever made them, but I live in a world where I see that stuff all the time,
mm-hmm.
and though I try not to participate, and I don't participate, you know, I still understand how hard it is for some people.
We got a couple more calls coming in here. WFMU, you're on the air.
I was wondering if you guys, Beastie?
Yeah.
Hello?
I'm here.
Hello?
Hello.
Beastie?
I'm here. This is Beastie.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys have, I was wondering if you guys had stickers?
We have tons of stickers.
Do you get them on the website, or how do you?
Yeah, if you want something, you know, just if you place an order on the website, just put a special note on there. There's like a notes section. Just say, please include some stickers, and we'll throw them.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
No sweat.
Great, thank you.
Bye.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Hello, Beastie.
Hello, person.
This is Ben from New Jersey.
Hi, Ben.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Well, let me just say that you guys were very inspiring. And my question for you is, you know, being a musician, I always find it difficult to find money for recording. How do you have sponsors or something like that to go into the studio?
No, all we've ever done when it's time to record, we just we cut down the amount of money we pay ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, so you know what we've always done. This is actually something that might be helpful to a lot of bands.
Okay.
We didn't start doing this until a couple of years into our banddom, but every dollar we generate, we take 20% off the top,
right,
put it in the bank, and then we split the remaining 80%. And then when we have a big money project coming up, like a new album, we just raise that percentage and put like half of our money into the bank, and then just split the remaining half.
And that's enough. I mean, do you go into professional, or do any of you guys actually have recording equipment? Do you use I'm curious, do you do tape or do you Pro Tools or anything? I know a lot of artists are sort of being forced to do home recording these days because.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting. We've always done analog recording, you know, 2-inch tape, at you know various studios around our area, and like 5 of the tracks on the new album were recorded for a really high budget that really killed us.
Yeah.
We recorded 5 tracks with James Sias, who produced Social Distortion and Mike Ness, and we recorded with him up in L.A., and that was a really expensive endeavor for 5 songs.
Right.
And for the rest of the album, we recorded it digitally, straight to hard drive, and it actually turned out really good. Like, we were really impressed, and we did it on a really, really good budget for us because one of our friends owns the studio, so it was really, really reasonable and so relaxed and kicked back, and it was great.
You know, one of the things that I really like about I have the CD Nowhere Fast, and you know, the first like 4 tunes are really heavy, and you know, then there's some lighter songs and you know, it sounds like actually music from different genres.
It's true.
Do you ever get any flack from record companies about doing that? I mean, personally, you know, I like a lot of different types of music, so I'm very, you know, interested in this. But I'm wondering what the reaction is if you present these to labels and things like that about having different styles.
When we recorded that album, we totally got that reaction from the labels. You know, that it was too disjointed.
Yeah.
And you know, that's true. For a long time, our band played a lot of different styles of music. And we just never thought about it. One of us would just write a song and say, this is cool, and a good song is a good song no matter what style it's in, so let's just play it.
Yeah.
But lately we've been a lot more focused, and if you pick up a copy of At Last For You, the new record, it's definitely more of a concept album, and it kind of keeps a solid groove the whole way through.
Well, thanks for calling. Thank you, caller. Yeah, we got time for one more call, and then we got to say goodnight. So 201-200-9368. We can get one quick call in here.
Okay.
10, 9. Well, I don't think it's going to happen. So, sir, Beastie, I'd like to thank you for being a part of the show tonight. I appreciate it, and it was very gentlemanly of you to come out and do this.
Hey, thank you very much, and thank you to your listeners. I appreciate their kind words.
And you did not get one single solitary death threat.
It's only the sissies that use the internet that make threats. I just realized it.
See, there it is. Well, great. I appreciate you calling, and you have a good night.
Do the same. I had a really good time.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, see, you missed out, you chump. I see somebody there. You snooze, you lose. You have been listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. I'll be back next week. Stay tuned for Nickel and Dime Radio with Small Change. Coming up, what should I cue here? What do you want?
3.
The turntable 3? Okay, let's do it. And I say goodnight to you.